Evening, everybody. My name is Jess and I attend Carindale Salvos, and I am hijacking Coffee Convos tonight because this time, 2 years ago, I sat on the floor of a very cold playground and did my first ever interview introducing Facebook to captains Krista and Tim Andrews. And 2 years later, they have been on quite the journey. They are now major Tim and Krista Andrews. And so I thought it would be really cool, covering the grades, it would be really cool to have another interview to find out what the last 2 years have been like for you guys.
Ooh,
exciting.
This is fun. I like celebrating.
Yeah. Excited / nervous. You said that through Richard's teeth. They know me well. This could go anyway.
You do stress us out slightly on occasion, Jess and Denda.
All right, it's going to be fun.
Lively questions for us tonight.
I love it. Keep you on your toes. Well, let me start with an easy one. And what I want to know is, what was that day arriving in Australia like? What was your first impression getting off the plane into Brisbane?
I think, do you know what surprised me about Brisbane was the fact that as we were driving from the airport to our new home, the hills and I don't think I was expecting Australia to be hilly.
Well, not.
Do you remember me saying that? I remember me saying,
Yeah, that's right.
I was really surprised that it's as hilly as.
Well, because we were relatively close to the coast, I guess, and we just thought closer to the coast meant flat, but nah.
No. So I just remember that being my first thought.
Yeah.
Because I'm a runner, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, this place is not going to be very fun to run.
My first thought, even though we arrived in the winter, was hot, because it was just different from where we came from, obviously.
So Jess, if you were to go through our social media feeds, the first 2 months we were here in the winter, we were at the beach.
Every day.
Weekend.
I remember. Yeah.
And we'd be looking around going, where is everybody? Why are we the only ones at the beach in the water? So fast forward to a year later, Canadian friends come to visit and they want to go to the beach in the winter. And I go with my full jogging suit on, my full sweater, and a hood up over my head, and held the baby the whole time. And so we have acclimatized.
So let me ask you the next question. Other than the obvious friends and family, what is something you miss most about Canada?
Sometimes we may miss the snow. And it's, you know what?
I don't ever miss the snow. Sorry.
I never shoveled it. He did.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
But we have said, look, even just to go home, to go for a walk in the snow, that would be all we would.
Beautiful.
That would be all we would need to do.
Mine is related. It's cold Christmas. Hot Christmas here, 38 degrees.
But we still do cold Christmas things. Like, I just feel we have a real Christmas identity crisis. Like, it's so bizarre.
I thought it was pretty funny that you guys sing "I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas."
And all our decorations are snowmen.
No.
It's weird. We need to get that sorted. So what is your favourite Australian food you've discovered?
Lemon lime bitters, hands down.
You don't have that in Canada?
No, we don't even have ginger beer in Canada. It's terrible.
Yeah.
I know what Carrington's would be. Carrington loves a Tim Tam, like no one I've ever met.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's not something that would be common to us there. That's definitely. But for me, it's the coffee, hands down. It's not food. It's the coffee.
Yeah. Touche.
True.
So, speaking of the kids, what's been one of the biggest adjustments for them? Because it's a big move for adults, let alone 3. I think they would have been like 5. How old were they when you came? 5.
Yeah, 5, 9 and 10, I think.
Yeah, a big move. So what was one of the biggest adjustments for them, do you think?
So it was probably the timing of our move, because Canada does its changeover with officers. in July, whereas you guys obviously do it with the school year here in Australia. So our school year in Canada is different.
Mm.
Our kids arrived halfway through the year.
Mm.
So it's always challenging to go into a new school halfway through the year because you're not starting the year with everybody else.
Yeah, you're the new kid.
Yep. And I would say that was probably the biggest challenge for them was to adjust to the uniforms, because we don't wear uniforms as well. So uniforms was a big thing. And I would even reckon to guess that just because they basically missed 6 months of schooling, because what happened was they finished a grade in Canada and then came halfway through the next grade here.
Right, yeah.
So even to this day, Carrie is missing a section of maths that she struggles with because she didn't learn along with everybody else. So it's just, the schooling has probably been the biggest challenge for them.
Mm.
Yeah.
But beside that, what is something that they love about Australia? What's something you think that they'll really remember?
I think all of them love the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree.
I mean, we have beaches in Canada, obviously, and not many in Newfoundland, but the ones that we do have are pretty cool. So, they really enjoy the beach.
They love the beach and they love bodyboarding.
Yeah.
So that's been something that they've picked up since coming here that they really enjoy doing.
Yeah, it'll be a shock for them heading back to the snow for sure.
And I mean, Brisbane is beautiful. So as a family, we like going down to the waterfront. We like going along the river. We love South Bank. We love the City Cat. So we spend a lot of time down there, and they love going down to those places as well.
Haven't been in a while.
No.
Yeah.
But the opportunity to play all year round outside.
Yeah. I think we as Australians take that for granted until you go overseas and you see how much the weather affects your lifestyle. We are just so, selfishly indulgent in being able to spend our weekends exploring and doing that stuff.
Yeah, we love outdoor living like we do. And so the fact that you can do that all year round is something beautiful that we really appreciate and we cherish here.
Mm. So what has been one of the biggest challenges in your adjustment?
Well, I think that some people would assume that would be being far away from family. And that really has been much easier than we've anticipated because we've always lived away from our family, even in Canada. Probably the biggest challenge that we weren't anticipating would be the time difference. And so the communication that we have with them has to be very well planned out. And the time difference has really played a challenging role. In this. True. Yeah. So, and Tim's parents are older than mine, and they've had some pretty significant adjustments while we've been here. So managing that while being far away, but also the time difference has just created a bit of a challenge to communicate, I would say.
So talk me through your ministry here in Australia. How does that look different to what you were doing in Canada?
Yeah, so in Canada, we were divisional youth secretaries. So we were involved in a lot of youth work within the Salvation Army. And so it's different here. When we came back into a core setting, which we had been in before. So we came back to that when it comes to just frontline core ministry, congregation, Sunday services, programs during the week. So quite different, stepping from that realm back into being a core officer again.
And was that challenging? Was that something that was easy adjustment for you?
That probably was like a harder adjustment than moving countries, believe it or not. Because DY work is very busy, very, very engaging, but it's a different kind of busy. And so I think we were not quite we were expecting the change in country to be an adjustment that we would have to get used to. But we weren't expecting the change going back to core work to be such a shift in our rhythm, because we had established a pretty solid rhythm as DYs, and it has taken us a little while to get into a rhythm as Corps officers again.
Yeah, I think divisional youth work or any type of youth work within the Salvation Army is a little bit of a different transition than maybe any other one. So it was a little bit tricky transitioning into it, but because we transitioned out and we moved countries at the same time, it was tricky.
I would reckon to guess that we probably did our most growing personally in our DY position. And so as we were DYs, we began to understand more and more who we are as leaders, the giftings that we have, and how we complement each other. We learned all of that in a specific way as DYs. And so I think coming back into core work and recognizing even more who we are just kind of caused a bit of a shift in us just to know more what our giftings are and where God is leading us. And so and that's the hard work of a Corps officer, is being able to do all of the work of the Corps officer while recognizing that there are specific giftings in certain areas, and being able to say, look, I'm not good at that. And we're probably more confident now than we've ever been to be able to put our hand up and say, that's not my gifting. And that probably has been a positive change for us from DY to here, that we're definitely more confident, putting our hand up and saying, that's not my gifting, or I'm not good in that space. Is there someone that can help fill that gap for us?
Amazing. So what are some of the challenges that you've found coming into Core Life? Like, what would be the things that I guess were a bigger transition for you, and how did you overcome those?
Look, when we were DYs, we got up in the morning, went to the office, and came home at the end of the day. So there was a lot of, aside from being at camp during the summer and helping to facilitate that, we were in the office kind of 8 to 5 or 8 to 4 every day.
It's a pretty set schedule.
It's a pretty set schedule. The Salvation Army officer schedule in a Corps is a little less set. So you're working early morning, or you're working later in the evening, or you're off midday, or there's this kind of smattering of work across as is needed. And so that's a bit of a different thing. So going from being in a position or an appointment where we got up and went to work to the office and came home, to work here, work there, that's a bit of a change.
Yeah, so
I find that a bit of a change.
So it's just been more trying to control and balance our schedule. And this is a very, very busy place. We've got our church family, which we love. We also have the family store, and we also have the childcare center. So this is a very, very busy ministry unit, and balancing family life in the middle of that probably has created maybe the most stress for us. But but that's the challenge of every Corps officer, to be quite honest, or any officer for that matter.
Yeah, everyone's
for anybody, actually, like for anybody that's trying to balance work. I mean, you would know that, Jess, as a working mom.
And particularly the age that our kids are at, they have quite a demanding, that middle school, it just feels like there's a school function, and they, have their own independent social lives, and they need a different type of attention. So it can be really tricky. So just on that, with the family store and the childcare centre, had you done anything like that before? And if not, how did you find taking on that challenge over the last 2 years?
Yeah, look, it's always interesting and always a challenge and always a joy, all mixed up into one. We had some experience with family store before, with thrift store. We actually, in our first appointment, flipped a couple of stores, and could help work in a team with making that happen when it comes to changing a store from one to another. So we've got some experience with that and setting that up. So we've got some experience there, but with the childcare, not so much.
So that's been a steep learning curve, but there is some amazing staff here that know the ins and outs of childcare. Childcare has been part of the Carindale DNA for quite some time. So, there's some good people here who know many things, and we've just been learning. And I think 2 years in, we can probably confidently say we understand more about it than what we ever have before. So that's good. I'm so glad that we work in a team here, and that's the joy of being where we are.
Yeah, it's been a good growing experience.
Yes, yeah.
You definitely have a repertoire of weird and wonderful preschool age songs. I've never heard, I don't know what they do in Newfoundland, but you have the weirdest kid songs that when my son was at that daycare and you're singing about bananas and squash sandwiches and these folk songs, and it's just bizarre.
The life of a DY, yeah.
So we've talked a lot about the challenges, and I guess one of the things that I would love to know, and I'm sure many watching would as well, is what have you learned through this time? How do you feel God has used you, or what has God showed you through this massive transition of the past 2 years in unknown territory?
I think for me, one of the lessons has come just recently. We've all over the world, everybody watching at the moment's been through this pandemic. Some are still in the thick of it, and we're sort of coming out on the other side here in Australia. But one of the biggest lessons I've learned is just about the fact that as a leader, we try to control our environment or control what's happening, and we've kind of lost that sense of control over different things through this time. And just the reassurance that actually you weren't really ever in control. God has been in control the whole time. He always has been. He always will be. And that's been a comfort for me. I think I was talking online somewhere recently and talked about the song "Jesus Take the Wheel" from this country singer over in America. And that's what I felt like. I've just felt that Jesus has kind of commandeered the wheel and said, "Hey, look, I'm gonna drive the car here for a while. I'm gonna show you my control and my sovereignty and my care for you." So that's kind of what I've learned recently. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what we've learned as well is that we can be fairly adaptable, and moving to another country is one thing. Moving appointments that are completely different from each other is another thing. Then getting thrown in the middle of COVID and what that's meant. While it's been stressful, we've come to understand that we can be adaptable to situations, and that we have an amazing group of people around us. God always equips us with an amazing village that comes alongside and that helps us work through whatever challenges we may have ahead of us. And no matter where we are in the world, we can go back and look at the appointments that we have or where God has sent us and recognize the fact that wherever we are, He has created a village for us to be able to function and to be. And that village has included people who have loved our children. It's included people who've spoken into our lives through mentorship. It's included people who are just practical and support us in practical ways. And moving to Australia is no different. That God provides us with a village, and so we've been so grateful for that village in the midst of the change that we've all been experiencing over the last little bit.
Mm-hmm. So you've already mentioned that the village is really important to your role here. What else do you feel is really pivotal to what you're doing in Australia?
Oh, look, I think over the last year, maybe even 5 or 6 months, especially through COVID, we have had to depend heavily on the Spirit and keep in step with the Spirit. And we have experienced many moments where God has spoken into our hearts something specific, and then has brought people alongside us to affirm what he is sharing in our hearts and in our minds. And I know one of the things that we actually last night we just had a leadership community meeting, which is all the leaders in Carindale, and just wrestling through some of those big questions of how we come out of this and what we look like and what is God teaching us, massive things. And we ourselves, the Spirit has been prompting a number of things in our heart that are just continuing to be affirmed by the people around us, and that is just showing a further dependency upon the Spirit. So I would say that that continues to be a huge learning thing for us. While we recognized that before, we're just understanding that even more so now than ever before. So that's been a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've got lots to look forward to here as a church and as a community of people. Lots to look forward to. We're using the word hybrid ministry a little bit, and what that means is just plugging into the online space more than we ever have, while also having that amazing physical presence together that is the gathered church. And we're doing a lot of talking about Sunday morning is our celebration, and we look forward to that. But the fact that as a church, we need to gather throughout the week in small groups, and how beautiful that is, disciple-making culture, all of these amazing things are coming up in this past year that God is just affirming. And we are very, very excited about what the future holds, for us here.
Yeah. On that, you've talked about God affirming through occasions and moments and different things. So talk me through some of your proudest moments, or I call them God moments, those moments where you just see something really beautiful has happened in your space, or something that he has led you to do. Do you have a standout memory of your time in Australia so far for something like that?
Yeah, I think for me, it's tied up with Alex, our son, who struggled a little bit, struggled quite a bit moving over here. And it took him a long while to settle into church and school and friends and all of that. And, I don't know if I remember the exact moment, but I know it was there where he came to us. He said, "You know what? This place this place isn't so bad. I'm okay.
I'm okay," was the words that he used. And it was a random statement, like we weren't even plugging for it or anything.
No, it just came one day, and it when your heart takes a deep breath, it's that. Everything's going to be fine. But because we were really anxious for him, because he was anxious for that situation. So we're very proud of him and how far he's come. And the girls as well. Although the girls didn't struggle as much as Alex did, there were things that they struggled with as well. And they've come good on those as well, and really settled into school and friends. The interesting conversation we'll have now is when it's time for us to go home to Canada.
I was about to say, I see Alex at church, and he is more Australian than me. He wears shorts in the winter. Loves to be outside. You got home without a fight.
They've settled in so much. Yeah, that's so right.
True. What about you, Krista? Do you have a moment that stands out?
Yeah, I'm just like, because there's been so many, and I think probably it's the moment where you're what I would call, my personal life, but it's all meshed into one. But when personal life and ministry smash together and just work integratively, and I think that for myself personally, I have had more of that here than I've ever experienced in my ministry. And so some of that, even just with my physical well-being and my love of running, just being able to mesh those opportunities together in ways that I would have never thought possible. The opportunity to go to PNG and come alongside the runners there. But even just the affirmation with parents of our kids' friends, and the way that God has connected us with them, and then how church has kind of come in around that, and seeing faces through the front door of the church, which we would have met in our personal lives, and just watching those two worlds come together. For me, that just has been massive affirmation that God is working when those experiences kind of collide. and we can do ministry in our personal space. Yeah, that's good.
So both of you share a lot about running and cycling. So I did want to throw a question in there. Is that something that you think you've found in Australia that you will keep forever? Are you going to be riding a bike through the snow if you ever go back to Canada one day? Tell me about how that's affected your journey and your transition.
Yeah, for me, I've picked up cycling since I've come here to Australia. I hadn't really done it before other than a handful of times recreationally, and I suppose I only do it recreationally now, but much more so. And it's been one of those things that's just become a part of my journey. And it's been something that's just helped with my overall holistic well-being. So it's that physical side, it's that exercise, it's that chemical balance there in conjunction with other things like spiritual health and emotional health and mental health. They're all tied together. And so it's just a slice of the pie, but it's a really good slice of the pie that I've found here. And I think I'll have it for the rest of my life. And it's just been such a fantastic thing. So yeah.
It's a bit weird, but running is my worship. It's actually like people are like, what? How do you what does that mean? But I hear God clearly when I run, and I think it's just because I'm alone, and it's just whenever there's something that is on my heart or that I'm struggling with, or there's a decision or a difficult conversation that needs to be had, or a direction that's needed, I'll run, and it's just where I hear God speak into my heart. And so really it's just become a spiritual thing for me. And I think that's very exciting and very good. So now, will I be as happy running in the snow? Probably not.
I'll have to buy you a treadmill.
She won't be as warm, that's for sure.
I won't be as warm, that's for sure.
So on that, my final question is, I think I speak for so many when we say we absolutely love watching your social media and all of the interesting ways you discover uniquely Australian things like magpies and spiders and cockroaches and the wonderful array of other things that try to kill you. So what has been one of your standout funny Australian moments in the last 2 years?
Yeah, well, look, for me, it was being attacked by a magpie. And well, it's not funny, actually.
It's a little funny. It's a little funny.
It is funny. It's scary.
It's scary.
But it's funny.
But it's funny. Like the birds here are a little slightly nuts. So
I don't like Canadians, they told me.
No. So there's been so many I don't really know. I don't run at night either anymore because that's also scary. Between the bats and the wallabies and the lizards and I just can't.
People haven't died from a wallaby in months. When have you ever heard somebody died from I'm pretty sure it's kangaroo, first of all. Second of all, they don't tend to kill people very often.
Look, if I were to talk about somebody else here for a minute.
No, you're gonna choose my funny story.
No. I'm just one of the things that we did not know is that cockroaches fly.
They're like pterodactyls, aren't they?
And so he doesn't like insects as it is, but the night that Tim discovered that cockroaches fly, we'll go down and.
Yeah, that's probably the funniest thing. I think I laughed at myself after I picked myself up off the floor. But yeah, that was scary. It was scary and funny.
It amazes me that you come from a country with like bears and you own a pair of slippers made out of a seal, which are like fierce creatures, but yet the cockroach blew your mind. Or the kangaroo.
Yeah, but we don't often have bears in our homes. That's the problem.
Touche. All right, now to wrap us up, I asked you to grab something Australian and Canadian. Do you have something Australian and Canadian? Excellent. Now, we as a nation are fiercely proud and look slightly competitive, and you are fiercely proud to be a Newfoundland. Did I say that right? No.
No, but we're going to take a moment and we're going to teach you how to say it. Well, I think
We've done it before. Yeah.
Newfoundland.
It's Newfoundland.
Newfoundlander. Is that a thing?
So listen, say the word understand.
Understand.
Now say Newfoundland.
Newfoundland.
It's close.
Okay. You try and say my last name and then we'll talk.
Fair. Touche.
So I have a list of questions and I want to know who does the best of. So if it's Canada, hold up Canada. If it's Australia, hold up Australia. Are you ready?
Oh my.
We have to choose together here now.
Oh, okay.
Oh, this could be interesting. Hold on to your hat.
Okay.
First one, best weather.
Oh,
That's an easy one.
Hands down.
Best scenery.
oh. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Look,
Sorry.
the only thing
We've
that
got
I
the
would
Rockies.
say, we've got the Rockies, but it's the icebergs.
Oh, that's ice. Yeah, that's true. Iceberg. That'd tip it over. Mhm.
Unless you've seen Titanic, then they're not so happy to look at. Best musicians.
Oh my, good grief. These are hard.
Look.
Not hard. You're making it. Come on. Who's ever heard of a famous Canadian singer?
What? Justin Bieber.
That's what you're going to choose? That's who you're going with?
Of all
the people you're choosing Justin Bieber?
That was a terrible example.
Okay.
Move on.
All right. Best barbecue is something you and I debate all the time. When you're grilling, who does it better?
Oh,
come on.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah.
Hands down.
You're about to have to meet best Christmas traditions.
Oh, yeah.
We have the beach.
I know. But we have the ice and snow.
Best shopping.
What you dream about. What?
Best shopping.
Yeah, definitely this.
I feel like we established who's the shopper in the relationship. Just then. Best restaurants.
Oh, definitely.
Really?
Food and cafes here, absolutely.
Hands down.
The best. The best.
Sorry, Canada. Okay. I do like the poutine, but sorry.
Best sporting team.
I don't have the right to weigh in on this one at all.
You can't do that. You got to choose.
I've come to love both. I really have. I have to do two. This is the only one. Just this one.
I can't.
All right. Who's your Canadian team? Tell us. Is it a hockey team?
Oh my gosh. We're not. Look.
Whether it's the Raptors or the Blue Jays or the Maple Leafs, it's all the same. They're just.
We have no idea what you're talking about. Okay, sounds good.
Exactly.
There's some Canadians out there. You know what I'm saying.
Who has the best accent?
By far.
You reckon? I think we sound really wanky, so that's good to know.
Well, you have an accent to us, and we have an accent to you, so that it doesn't really count, does it? I suppose.
Best wildlife.
Oh, do it.
Oh.
There's just more things to kill you here.
We have bears.
That being said, we get messages all the time asking if we've seen scary things. And
is that what people think of Australia, that we just have all these scary things?
Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
They think that yes. But I've seen 3 spiders since I've been here and 0 snakes. I've been here for 2 years.
And you just
Where
invited all the snakes into our house.
But my kids were doing trivia the other night, and we learned that the Canadian national animal is a beaver, which I think is the worst national animal ever.
Oh.
Did you know our money smells like maple syrup?
The paper money or the plastic money? Yes. I think it's scratch and sniff, isn't it?
Yes. Did you know that?
See,
you have scratch and sniff money. This is amazing. Canadian wins the best money.
Yeah, you should.
All right, best TV shows. Who's got the better TV?
I don't think either. I'll be honest.
Well, I'd say Canada.
See, the American flag probably needs to go up there, but anyway.
We're not known for our TV. Neighbours hasn't been good in years. Best coffee. I feel like I know which one you're going to choose here.
Hands down. Hands down.
Best food.
Yeah.
Except except for shortening. We discovered that's a Canadian thing the hard way.
Yep, true. Yes, you don't have
Best parties.
what?
Who does a better party? Yeah. I suppose you guys don't go to a lot of parties. Is church a party?
Not really.
Party?
Sure.
I feel like Australians are known for their parties. You know, but
I agree.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
We'll give you that one.
See,
you guys are too cold to have parties.
Look. The thing is, Newfoundlanders are also known for being a party people.
Yeah, they were.
Right? So I would
right.
just say maybe not Canadians, but Newfoundlanders would be good for a kitchen party.
A kitchen party.
Yes.
Sounds wild.
Perfect.
Okay, last question. What are you most looking forward to in the next 2 years? What are you working on? What are you dreaming of? Tell us what we can expect.
This is serious business now. Serious business. I think for me, I am looking forward to seeing the way in which Carindale Salvos emerges from this learning period that we've been in. Because I think that God has given each and every one of us some incredible opportunity to sit back and recognize who He is in our hearts and in our lives. And it's been a time of reflection, of growth. And even some of the things that maybe even would have been put into the too hard basket before has been brought out and put into the open. And that is exciting. That is exciting. I think one of the things that you mentioned, and you're probably better to talk to that, but in the middle of COVID, everybody has been kind of shifted out of a rut. Like, so we're all lifted out of this rut. And we look forward to coming alongside everybody and this church and our people as they land and as they create the new possible that God is prompting in all of our hearts. And so I think that's exciting. Potentially going into COVID or before COVID even happened, we probably would have had more to say in answering that question. And maybe we even had some specific plans that we would have thought or that we would have dreamed with our mission team. And COVID has just kind of shifted and made us all think and seek the Spirit more. And we're very excited to be in this space with everybody.
Yeah, I think for me, exactly what you said. I think I'm coming out of COVID. I'm more interested in listening than I perhaps was when I went into COVID. And just listening for what the Spirit is saying and for where God is leading. And sometimes we just get caught up in this busyness, right? And COVID has just allowed things to settle and allowed us to pause and has allowed things to stop stirring. And I think I've said this before, but you know, what happens when you stop stirring something is there are things that rise to the surface. So it's as if God is in the midst of reordering our priorities and saying, you know what, this thing, that thing over there, not really important. This thing, that thing, it is important. You know, and that's what I think He's saying to us. So I'm excited. I'm excited to listen to what He has to say over the next couple of years.
It's like a once in a lifetime opportunity to just be still and to stop. Like nowhere else in your life ever do things stop in the capacity that they have. And you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you miss until it's gone, and you don't know what you don't miss. And it's such an interesting, you know, at a church level, at a personal level, to have this to some degree blessing over time, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think we would have never anticipated, obviously, that this would have been such a big part of our time here. And so, you know, when you're thinking and dreaming about what God has in store as you travel halfway around the world, you certainly don't think about something like this. But I believe that God is just continuing to refine us through that experience, and that together as a church, we will grow closer together because of it, and it will just open doors that we may not have been able to open before.
Yeah.
And that's very exciting.
Amazing. Awesome. I want to thank you for letting me take over Coffee Convos. And I know that I'm not alone when I say we appreciate how openly and honestly and vulnerably you share, you know, the good parts and sometimes the hard parts of your journey. I think it's a big part of bringing us together as a community and knowing how we can pray for you and support you. And I would just invite anyone watching to keep praying for our fearless leaders as they undergo a particularly, you know, challenging time bringing us out of COVID, and our community is in need more than it's perhaps been ever before. So our prayers are with you, and we thank you for sharing. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, and we love being here. By the way, this is just a great space.
It is
a great space. And maybe to say that, you know, if you're in our community and close to us and we haven't had a chance to meet, come in and see us and say hello.
Yeah.
Or as the cool kids say, slip into our DMs. Slip into our DMs. All right. Good night.
Thanks, Jess.
Thanks.
We'll see
ya.
everybody.
Bye.